Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to introduce Marco Rotunno. He's a national cluster coordinator leading a camp coordination and management response in Yemen with the UNHCR CCM cluster lead agency functions in the country. In communication with communities supporting UNHCR Turkey in the elaboration of messages to refugees and asylum seekers in Turkey. The public information, he's representing the UNHCR Italy, monitoring the landings by sea and telling the stories of refugees, asylum seekers in Sicily. Also, he was deployed to the border Colombia, Venezuela as communication officer with the UNHCR Colombia. He supported UNHCR Brazil in the establishment of reception sites in Boa Vista and UNHCR Colombia for the Venezuela crisis. From 2014 to 2016, in Iraq, he supported the Kurdish government in managing refugees and internally displaced people camps with the UNHCR Iraq, with International Rescue Committee and UNHCR. He has been coordinating humanitarian programs for Syrian refugees in Jordan and Lebanon until 2014. For Syrian refugees and Iraqi internally displaced people in Iraq, and for Venezuelan displaced in Brazil and Colombia. Thank you very much, Marco. The microphone is over to you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me. And sorry for the disruptions, but yeah, it was difficult. Let's hope you can hear me. So I arrived to Yemen a few months ago in January, and I saw a very hard situation at the moment, humanitarian speaking. So humanitarian needs are really high. Because I arrived at the beginning of the year on the 1st of March, so less than a month ago. The whole humanitarian community made an appeal for the humanitarian needs in Yemen, and it was the biggest. I mean, as Tahir said, I was covering the Venezuelan response, the Syrian response also a few years ago, but what we are seeing now in Yemen is a very hard situation. So I've never seen such number of people in need within one country. Usually we have, like, refugees moving from one country to like the neighboring countries. This is what I saw in my working experience. But now people that are displaced within Yemen, there are many, and people in need of humanitarian assistance in Yemen are many, more than 20 million actually. What we do specifically, we work with the internally displaced, we call them. So those, because UNHCR, the mandate, as you might know, is to assist refugees. They are those who cross other countries, right? So they escape, they cross the border, and they ask for asylum. That's the refugee definition. But in Yemen, those who flee from the conflict stay in Yemen, basically, because we have many internally displaced, as we call them. So those who flee from their home but don't cross any border. We have 4 million people right now. which is a very, very big number, because you don't see Yemeni refugees. No one, you must know, no? Um, no one hears of Yemeni refugees, so they're all escaping in their own country, actually very close to front lines. We have many front lines open at the moment. You must be aware of it. So it's really, really a difficult situation. So as I said, we have 4 million internally displaced now. So they just fled their homes, but they are still in Yemen, in other governorates, as we call them. Many of them are very close to front lines, because we have many front lines. At the moment, we have three hotspots, three big front lines. As we speak, we have one in Marib, a very big one actually. Then we have one front line open in Taiz, a bit in the south, and one open in Hadja Governorate near Ab City. So these three are monitored by the humanitarian community, and those three are monitored. So the biggest one at the moment is Mari, but also the other two are very, very worrying. So as we speak, we're having more and more displaced people. So this 4 million figure was from before, and as I said, we have 4 million people that fled their homes. Out of them, more than 1 million. So what, 1 out of 4 is living in settlements. We call them settlements because it's not like a formal refugee camp as you might have seen in Kenya. We have in Jordan. We have formal camps, but these people are very, very scattered in informal settlements, like small ones, but not planned, not organized. So actually few services are there. And these 1 million people lives in 1,630 verified sites. We call them sites in technical jargon, but they're like informal camps or informal settlements, as you want to call them. And they're all over. So in the north, in the south, most of them, there is no humanitarian assistance to them. More or less 30% of these 1,630 camps are covered. Of course, the humanitarian community, so UNHCR, other UN agencies, other NGOs, try to cover those camps with more people, with the more higher concentration of people. But in terms of camps that we can reach and we can provide assistance, it's just 1 out of 3 at the moment. It's very, very hard to reach them, to have any assistance. So many of them really lack everything. So latrines, water coming into these camps, basic items such as blankets, mattresses, etc., food assistance. Everything is very, very low. We made this appeal. I see the questions in the chat. So the pledging conference is done by the whole humanitarian community. So all UN agencies, NGOs, international and national NGOs make this appeal once or twice a year. For this year was done 1st of March, so very recently. And $4 billion were asked to assist those people in need. That I told you is more than 20 million with need. So then we prioritize the most vulnerable, which is almost half of them. But of course, so this conference is made for all donors, governments, private donors, etc. Less than half of this money was promised, which means that they're not there yet. As UNHCR, the agency I work with, so far we have received 6% of the budget requested for Yemen for this year, which is very low. and this is UNHCR, so it's a UN agency. So imagine the rest of the local international NGOs. Like humanitarian wise, it's really, really a big struggle. We are seeing more attention to Yemen in the last couple of months, which is good. So maybe the attention of the international community will be focusing a bit more on Yemen. This is what we try to do. This event is very welcome for us because it's really important to talk about Yemen and to highlight what is needed, because the situation is really bad. Everyone is asking about like how is the COVID in Yemen. Until last month we were like, there are major issues much more big and concerning than COVID, because we had cholera outbreak last year. We hope it will not come back. We have floods will happen very soon, so we are preparing plans for like minimize the risk of the flood, but it will happen again. So the flood, there are many other diseases, right, in Yemen. So the COVID is not first, but in the last few weeks, we are seeing a very high peak of it. So it was not in the radar until a month ago. Now I can say we really have it, and we are very concerned that it will hit young people as well, because last year, the first wave, as we call it, it was mostly affected old people in Yemen. Now we are seeing more and more cases at the moment, including in our staff, in the NGO, so like Yemeni people, humanitarian community. So again, we are very worried about it. Yeah, and yes, are the adults starving too? Yes, the famine is the number one. So if you say out of all the issues that there are, as I told you, the front lines, the diseases, etc., famine is the first word that we talk about when we talk about Yemen at the moment. So yes, all
Marco,
those family.
could you describe what you have just said? What is famine in your description?
Famine is people that are not having enough food and money to obtain food for the family. So families that are not reaching the coverage for themselves until the end of the month. And it comes, as I said, from the displacement from the conflict, from the money, inflation of the money. It's higher and higher every day. So the correspondent of like $1 or whatever the families are able to cover is make them struggle more and more every day.
Do you see them in clinics or in the camps, or where would you see the starving people? I have seen lots of photographs in clinics, but I don't have that picture, that people, starved people are everywhere.
Yes. So far, because I'm there for almost 3 months, so I'm very new. What I saw is camps where agencies work. So that 30% that I told you, that is covered by someone. So there is some NGOs, some UN agency covering some services like health, food distribution, the basic, so they have tents with a bit of like they're called like emergency shelter, so they're a bit better than one informal tent, so they're a bit more isolated for the heat, etc. So I have seen only that at the moment. I will see, hopefully in 3 weeks I will see camps that are not covered by anyone, because I will go, inshallah, to Marib, which is one of these front lines. And Marib, the situation is disastrous at the moment. So I'm sure I will see those cases there in less than 1 month, because in Marib, like, there are around 120 camps, informal camps, out of which we cover very, very few, like 20. So I will see the rest of them in that area, and I'm sure I will see people that are not receiving any food assistance. So far, I haven't seen. So I haven't seen and because I don't work in health, so I haven't been to health facilities to see these cases that you are talking about. But there are. So
Yeah.
I can
And,
really tell you. As I told you, I've seen so far those we covered. Anyone, like health agencies, food agencies, I've seen those.
and those 120 camps that you mentioned, who set them up? Is it because I can imagine, people are coming from different parts of the country to Marib, and then where do they go to? And who gets them into a camp or not?
It's not as formal. It's not as formal. So
Mhm.
they run, as I said, almost half of the camps we have in Yemen, they are very close to the front lines. Not only Marib, but like many other front lines. So this is very worrying, because it means these people run, but they don't want to go that far from their home.
Mhm.
So they stay and they wait until maybe there will be no clashes, no fights. So they hope they will come back. But as we see, this is 6 years now.
Yeah.
Nobody came back, but they're very close to the fights. So they're trapped in the fights many, many times. So no one is planning any camp. This is like my experience in seeing like planned camps, secure camps, far from the front line, very, very well organized and planned before. This is not the case. They
Mhm.
just are in the middle. Let me show you some picture I have from my guy in there in Marib. Like, look, this is the situation. So, I mean, camps are with many people, but like, you see,
Oh,
go in the
yes.
middle of nowhere, huh?
Yeah.
So, and they go with their car, they're full of, and they set up a tent. Then when you have a big group of people, you call it camp, and it's check on the box. But they're very, very, as I said, they're very, very in the middle of nowhere. And then if we have some means to help them, we set up some, but this is nothing in the middle of nowhere.
Mhm.
So you don't expect like what we do everywhere else, where the camp is formal, we plan for it, is the good land, then you build water sewage. There is like a topography before that. All these are like
Yeah.
nothing, are like people fleeing, people running. This is one family.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not one camp. We don't call it one camp yet, because
Mhm.
camp is more like 5, 10 families together, then it becomes a camp, yeah? Or
And how do
site. We
they,
call it site, but yeah.
Marco, how on their daily basis, what do so they're there, and they have been there for months probably, what do they do? Do they go and,
These are new. This picture is new, so they came just 2 weeks ago.
oh, I see.
But the rest, yes, they stay 3 years, 4 years. So what we do, so as a camp management, we call it camp management technically, this sector. What we try to do is not only to ask for other services to come. So like there is no water system, please NGOs that work with water, please organize water tracking. This is what we do. But then inside the camp, we try to have them active, as you said. Try to have some camp committee, so they meet, they see what is the big needs in the moment, what are the people that live in the camp,
Yeah.
what are the things. So we have like a bit of participation. We call it community participation. So this is what also is in our program.
Yeah.
As I said, it's in very, very few camps. Those that I saw, is like 1 out of 3 camps have this. So there is a committee, they do some like site rehabilitation. As I said, they do some channels, they do some, how do you call it, trash collection, you know?
Yeah.
Let me show you some more picture. This is like, yes, so they're a bit more active and participating. There is some money like daily for daily work, like garbage collection, etc. Very, very small thing, but it's important for them, like to be more active, as you said. Otherwise, there is nothing. They're just waiting for support. But I see so many people that they would do something, but there is no means. I met a fisherman last 10 days ago in one of the sites. He's a fisherman. He would really like to be again like a fisherman, but now he lives in a camp, so he would travel like 1 hour to go to the fisherman market, and but he not always has the money just to go and come back, you know, where the family lives in a tent. So he goes like once a month. He collects the money once or twice a month and try to go, as his old life of a fisherman is from Udeida, and yeah.
From what I understand,
people are really struggling.
From what I understand from you, Marco, is that at the moment, Marib has the highest number of internally displaced people. Is that correct? No? No?
No. It's the newest wave.
Right.
The newest. So we might have more new in the near future. But in terms of concentration of people, Hudaydah and Adja are the ones with the most highest number of people in informal camps.
Oh, wow.
Those are the two, Hudaydah and Adja. But Marib is worrying because it's a new front line. So that will mean people displaced. We are calculating in the next 3 months 100,000 families running from that place, but we don't know. So it's not the biggest number yet.
Sorry, the last number.
We think there will be.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Hello, Marco. Are you still there?
Yes, it's a bit.
Yeah, good. We have been
going.
We have been we have been fortunate until now. It's working, so that's really great. Now you mentioned that Hajja or Hudaydah is the largest concentration of the internally displaced people. Are they managed by UNHCR, or are they managed by different organizations, or by the, I don't know, local authorities?
We do everything in coordination with the local authorities. Then there are some partners of UNHCR, and then there are other NGOs with their own funds, national and international. So my role is to coordinate all of them, and of course in coordination with the authorities. So that's what we call camp management. It's not done independently. It's done in coordination with the authorities, in coordination with the NGOs, regardless of the fund and the capacity they have.
Yeah.
So we work together. I mean, we work together. So, but still we cover nationwide. I don't know, they didn't Adja precisely, but nationwide, as I said, we cover 1 camp out of 3. So the rest is in the hands of God at the moment. So we cover very, very few. Not only UNHCR, I mean everyone. They're not covered. There is no one else. I'm not saying there are others there. There is no one.
No
NGOs, no.
Have you seen how
It's
many?
desperate. That's why.
How many of the camps have you visited, Marco?
So far, like 10. Security-wise, is very, very difficult to move. So also because the conflict is still ongoing.
Yeah.
So you plan your mission, it's cancelled. So it's very difficult to reach for the humanitarian community. The places, as I said, as I told you, many of these sites are 5 kilometers away from the front line.
Yeah.
If it's that close, we cannot go there. So I was supposed to go to AJTY, actually, which is the most dense. And for security reason, the mission was cancelled the night before because there were clashes, fights.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I hope I will see these new displaced people in Mareb, because Mareb there are fights at the moment. So the humanitarian actors, if there is no ceasefire, which is not in our hands because it's a political decision, so the whole humanitarian community cannot reach these places. So this is a very, very difficult thing because the staff cannot go, distributions cannot happen because it's security. So that's the issue in Yemen.
Yeah.
That is not only the funds, we don't have money to do, but in some cases you cannot reach them, the people.
Yeah.
So it's very, very risky at the moment, and we all hope there will be ceasefire in this front line so that the humanitarian assistance can go to these people, because they're too much close to the front line at the moment. So those who are too close, nobody can go.
Yeah.
That's our biggest concern. That how can you reach these people and give, even if we get more funds and more money, how can we give it to them?
Yeah.
That's our main concern at the moment.
Oh, well,
And the
thank you.
COVID, I would say second, because it's picking up.
Yeah. And I can imagine the mental health situation of these people is going to be immensely difficult for all of them to live in this situation. You get me, Marco?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. No one is thinking about the mental health, but imagine in the future, the effect of so many years of disruption.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time, Marco, and joining us and giving us.
Can you hear me? I cannot hear you, Tahir. Very well.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Marco?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I would like to thank you very much for your input. It has been really great to hear all these horrendous stories, and I'm pleased that you were able to join us even though you are traveling. Thanks a lot, Marcus.